It is Thursday, January 29th, 2026. And today we are going to talk about cables,
Cables.
connectors, wires, the plumbing. And look, before you check your feed to see if you accidentally downloaded a podcast on, I don't know, home improvement, you need to stay with me because we are not actually talking about hardware today. We are looking at a crystal ball.
It sounds like hyperbole, I know, but it's really not. If you want to know what is actually happening in the AI revolution, I mean, cutting through all the hype, the press releases, the flashy demos, you don't look at the chatbots.
Right.
You look at the people building the nervous system.
Exactly. And that brings us to Amphenol, ticker symbol APH. They just dropped their Q4 2025 earnings report yesterday, and the numbers are, well, they frankly just don't make sense for a manufacturing company.
Hey, it looked like a typo.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I first saw the print, I thought, did they accidentally paste a software company's spreadsheet into this report?
So here's the mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack how a company that makes physical things, plugs, sockets, fiber optics, just put up numbers that look like a viral Silicon Valley startup. We're talking nearly 50% growth.
Yeah, we're going to figure out what that tells us about the physical reality of the world right now, from this frantic data center build-out to, well, the rearming of global militaries.
Plus, we have to talk about their corporate culture because it violates pretty much every rule they teach in business school, yet it might be the only reason they can move this fast.
It's the anti-corporate strategy. It's fascinating stuff.
But let's start with the headline numbers. Because usually when we talk about industrial manufacturers, exciting growth is what? Mid-single digits.
Right. If a factory grows 5 or 6% in a year,
Yeah.
you pop the champagne. You have to remember, this is a capital-intensive business. You have to buy raw materials. You have to run machines.
You ship heavy things.
You ship heavy things. You can't just scale a factory by clicking a button like you can with an app.
Which makes this report so bizarre. Amphenol reported Q4 sales of $6.44 billion. That is up 49% from the year before.
49% in hardware. It's unheard of.
And for the full year, for 2025, sales hit $23.1 billion. That's up 52%.
You know, to put that in perspective, doubling your revenue in a huge industrial sector, it usually takes a decade, maybe longer. They seem to be doing it in a fast forward. And what's even more impressive, and this is the part Wall Street is drooling over, is that they didn't break the bank to do it.
Right, because usually hypergrowth kills your margins. You're paying overtime, you're air freighting parts. You're just wasting money to keep up.
Exactly. Chaos is expensive. But they didn't have chaos. Their adjusted operating margin was 27.5% for the quarter, which is exceptional.
But so they're not just selling more, they're selling it efficiently.
They've got what we call operating leverage. As they get bigger, they get more profitable, not less.
But here's the number that really stuck out to me. It's the book-to-bill ratio. In just the fourth quarter, they booked a record $8.4 billion in new orders.
This is the aha moment. This is the crystal ball we talked about.
Break that down for us because revenue is what they shipped, but orders are what's coming next, right?
Exactly. Revenue is history. Orders are the future. When you have $8.4 billion in orders versus, $6.4 billion in sales, you have a massive backlog building up. It tells you that demand is accelerating faster than they can even ship it.
So is this just standard growth, or is there something psychological happening here with their customers?
Oh, it's almost panic buying. I don't use that term lightly. The CEO, Adam Norwitt, he described it as customers opening their order windows early.
Opening the order window. That sounds very polite.
It's corporate speak for, we are terrified of running out. The big tech giants, the hyperscalers building these huge AI clusters, are terrified, not of the competition, but of the supply chain.
Right.
Imagine spending billions on the best NVIDIA chips. You have the land, you have the power, but you can't turn the thing on because you didn't order the interconnect 6 months ago.
That is an absolute nightmare scenario. You have the smartest brain in the world sitting there like a paperweight because the nervous system is missing.
Precisely. So they are booking capacity well in advance. They're placing orders for 2027, 2028, just to guarantee they aren't the ones left holding the bag.
And that panic is concentrated in one specific place, the engine room of this report, the IT datacom market.
This is where the story just gets wild. This specific part of their business grew by roughly 110% in Q4.
110%. That doubling and then some. And we know what's driving it.
AI. almost entirely AI.
But let's clarify something, because I think this is where people can get a little lost. When people hear datacom or cables, they might be picturing like the Ethernet cable I plug into my wall.
Or a USB cable.
Yeah, why is that worth billions of dollars?
Yeah, this isn't the cable you buy at Best Buy. We are talking about the interconnects inside the rack of a supercomputer. Norwitt talked about this on the call. He said the technology is pushing the limits of these systems.
Pushing the limits how?
Physics.
Eh?
Basic physics. These next-gen accelerated computing clusters are moving data at speeds that are incredibly difficult to manage. You're talking about massive amounts of current and data moving through tiny, tiny spaces.
So it's about precision.
Extreme precision. If the manufacturing tolerance is off by a microscopic amount, like a fraction of a human hair, the signal degrades. The resistance goes up. The heat rises.
And your AI model starts to hallucinate, or the whole training run fails.
Exactly. So it's not just molding plastic and copper anymore.
Not at all.
No, it's high-precision engineering. It requires automation, massive capital investment, and here's where the dynamic shifts.
Amphenol isn't taking all that risk alone.
How so?
The demand is so high and the tech is so specialized that the customers are effectively sharing the risk. They're giving Amphenol the comfort, as Norwitt put it, to go build new factories and buy new machinery.
That's a fascinating dynamic. Usually a vendor builds a factory and just hopes the orders come. Right. But here the customers are essentially saying, build it. We promise we will buy it. Just please do not run out. When you're building the plumbing for the most important technology on Earth, you become a partner by default. You're too critical to fail.
Now, speaking of plumbing, there's a huge debate that's been raging in the tech world for a while. The war of currents, if you will. Copper versus fiber.
The classic battle. It's like the beta versus VHS of the data center.
Right. So, quick physics 101 for everybody. The basic argument is copper is cheaper, it's great for power, but as data speeds get faster and faster, resistance becomes a huge problem. Eventually, physics just says you have to switch to light, you have to use fiber optics.
Right. Copper has electrons, fiber has photons. Photons move faster and cooler over long distances. So for years, the bear case on Amphenol was, okay, they are the king of copper. What happens when AI goes all optical? Will they get less behind?
They bought a company called Teradyne Connection Systems like 20 years ago, and that really made them the leader in high-speed electrical connectors. But that was the electrical side.
Exactly. So the worry was real. But on January 8th of this year, 2026, they answered that question in a very, very expensive way.
The CommScope acquisition.
This is the elephant in the room. They bought CommScope's connectivity and cable solutions business.
And this isn't just some small tuck-in acquisition.
No. We are talking about adding $4.1 billion in expected sales for 2026, just from this one deal.
Yeah.
But the strategic signal is even louder than the money. By buying CommScope, which is a massive leader in fiber optics, Amphenol is basically telling the market, the debate is over.
Because they own both sides now.
Because the answer isn't copper or fiber, the answer is both.
Walk us through that. Why both? Why not just switch everything to fiber if it's so much faster?
Cost and power. Converting an electrical signal from a chip into light, sending it through fiber, and then converting it back to electricity at the other end, that takes energy, and it takes expensive little transceivers. So inside the rack, where chips are sitting inches apart from each other, you want to use copper. It's efficient, it's simple. But to connect that rack to the next rack, or to the building across the street,
You can't use copper. The signal dies.
the signal dies. You need fiber.
So by owning CommScope, Amphenol now owns the entire signal path.
Exactly. From the chip to the wall to the building next door. They've completely hedged their own disruption. If the market moves more toward fiber, great. They have CommScope's iconic brands like Systemax and ADC. If it stays with copper for longer, they have their legacy business. It's a brilliant move, both defensive and offensive.
It effectively makes them neutral. They don't care which engineer wins the argument. They sell the cable either way.
That's it, and it diversifies them too. CommScope isn't just AI, right?
No, and that's key. The report mentions this gets them deep into building connectivity, like the structured cabling inside office buildings, huge venues, airports.
Right. So they aren't just riding the AI rocket ship, even though that's the exciting part right now. They are wiring up the physical world. If a new airport gets built, Amphenol is there. A new stadium, Amphenol is there.
Speaking of the physical world, we have to talk about the other sectors. Because while that 110% growth in datacom grabs the headlines, the other segments paint a very specific picture of the geopolitical landscape.
You mean defense?
Defense was up 44% in Q4.
Which I mean, if you look at the news, it makes sense.
Right.
But for a business, that is massive growth.
The report explicitly mentions geopolitical tensions driving spending in radar, space avionics, and drones. It really feels like the world is rearming, and Amphenol is wiring it all up.
It's a somber reality, but yes, modern warfare is digital. A drone is basically a flying server. A missile defense system is a network of sensors. They all need interconnects that can survive extreme heat, vibration, interference.
And just like with fiber, they doubled down here too. They acquired a company called Trexon.
Right, Trexon, which specializes in these high-tech interconnects specifically for defense. So they're just cementing their lead here. They want to be the one-stop shop for anything that flies, shoots, or orbits.
But here's the one that really surprised me, automotive.
Yes. This is a head-scratcher if you just glance at the headlines.
Right, because if you read the news, the auto industry is in a weird spot. EV sales growth has slowed down, interest rates are hurting buyers, but Amphenol's auto business grew 12%.
And get this, where was the strongest organic growth? Europe. Europe.
The one place where everyone says the economy is stagnant and the car manufacturers are struggling with the transition to EVs.
Exactly. This is what makes Amphenol so interesting to study. When the underlying market is flat or even down, but you are growing 12%, that means one thing.
You're eating everyone else's lunch.
You're taking market share. You are winning designs. But there's another layer to it. It's the electrification of everything. Even if a European manufacturer sells a gas car today, it has more sensors, more cameras, more computers than a car from 5 years ago.
So the content per vehicle, the amount of money Amphenol gets from a single car, is going up no matter what the engine is.
Correct. Whether it's an EV or a hybrid, it needs a nervous system.
Yeah.
And Amphenol is evidently building better nerves than the competition.
Okay, so we have the AI boom, fiber dominance, defense spending. But I want to pivot to the how, because Amphenol operates in a way that seems, well, chaotic to an outsider.
It really does. It is the anti-MBA case study.
Most big companies, when they buy a smaller company like CommScope, they send in the synergy team. We've all seen this movie. They integrate everything. They merge HR, merge IT, fire the management.
Standard operating procedure, cost-cutting 101. You buy a company, you slash the overhead, you boost the profit.
But Amphenol, CEO Adam Norwitt literally said on the call, integration is not a word in the Amphenol lexicon.
It's amazing. They run a radically decentralized model. They have something like over 100 independent operating groups.
So explain how that actually functions. If I'm the CEO of CommScope, which just got bought, what happens to me?
You become a general manager within Amphenol. And essentially, you keep your job, you keep running your business. You don't have some corporate headquarters breathing down your neck telling you which supplier to use for paper clips.
So I have autonomy.
Total autonomy. You are accountable for your profit and loss, absolutely. The standards are high. But you have the freedom to be an entrepreneur. You decide who to hire, what products to develop.
Norwitt mentioned visiting the CommScope team in Shakopee, Minnesota, right after the deal closed. And he made it sound like they were throwing a party.
You call them Amphenolians.
Amphenolians? It sounds like a sci-fi species. Take me to your leader.
It does a bit. But think about the psychology. CommScope had been struggling with some debt and balance sheet issues. It's stressful working at a company where you don't know if you could afford to invest in the future.
And then suddenly a rich parent company comes along.
Exactly. Amphenol walks in and says, we have cash, we want to invest, but we trust you to run the business.
That has to be incredibly motivating.
It unlocks energy that was being stifled by bureaucracy or financial stress. And in a supply chain crisis, that speed is everything. If a problem happens in a factory, the local manager fixes it. They don't wait for approval from 3 layers of management in Connecticut.
There's another advantage to this decentralization that I hadn't really thought about until I read the transcript. It's a geopolitical shield.
The local advantage.
Right, because they don't have expats.
No, and this is crucial in 2026. If you go to an Amphenol factory in France, it is run by French managers. In China, it's run by Chinese managers. In India, Indian managers.
So why does that matter for the business?
Because when trade wars happen or when politicians start shouting about tariffs, Amphenol doesn't look like a foreign invader. They look like a local company. They are embedded in the local ecosystem. They pay local taxes, hire local people. They're led by local leaders.
It allows them to navigate things like the U.S.-China chip war much more smoothly than some centralized monolith that tries to dictate everything from the U.S.
It's a brilliant chameleon strategy. You just blend in wherever you are.
And for a company that is quite literally wiring up the world's defense systems and the world's Chinese-made electronics. That flexibility is just survival.
It's the only way you can operate in both those markets at the same time without getting crushed.
I want to touch on the human side of this tech giant before we wrap up, because usually earnings calls are so dry. You get a guy reading a script about EBITDA. But Adam Norwitt has a bit of personality.
He definitely does. He's rare in that CEO world.
He was talking about the mobile devices segment, which, by the way, was down 4% because smartphone sales are soft. But he pivoted to talking about his trip to CES, the Consumer Electronics Show.
The annual tech pilgrimage in Vegas.
And he had this great line about how AI is moving to the edge, meaning into our devices, not just the cloud. But he joked, I am not front of the line to buy an AI-enabled toilet.
Which is a valid stance. I think most of us are with him on that one.
Very valid. I do not need ChatGPT to flush. But he followed that up with a Star Wars reference. He was musing about the 50th anniversary of Star Wars and wondering if we're all going to have our own C-3PO soon.
It's a funny moment, but it actually reveals his worldview. He's a tech optimist.
How so?
He believes that AI isn't just going to stay in the data center. It's going to move into robots, into cars, into our homes. He sees a world where technology is absolutely everywhere.
And his company is ready to wire all of that up, whether it's a robot butler or, well, let's hope not the toilet.
Let's hope not. But if that toilet needs a waterproof, high-speed connector, Amphenol will sell it.
That's the spirit. So let's pull all this together. If you're listening to this and you're trying to make sense of the AI revolution beyond just the software, Amphenol just gave us a massive clue.
I think there are three main takeaways here. Number one, the hardware demand for AI is not slowing down. It is accelerating. 110% growth in datacom is a signal flare. The physical infrastructure, the nervous system, is being built at a frantic pace, and the hyperscalers are panic buying capacity. If you think the AI boom is over, the order book says you are wrong.
Okay, number two.
The copper versus fiber debate is officially over. The industry needs both to overcome the physics of speed and distance. The acquisition of CommScope proves that the future is a hybrid of electrical and optical connections, and Amphenol has positioned itself to own both sides of that coin. They're technology agnostic.
And number three.
You can scale without becoming a bureaucracy. Amphenol's no-integration culture proves that you can grow to $23 billion in sales while staying nimble. It's a lesson that speed comes from trust, not from control.
It's a fascinating case study. You know, everyone focuses on the brains of the operation, the NVIDIA chips, the OpenAI models.
The rock stars, they get all the magazine covers.
Right. But Amphenol proves that the nervous system, the wires, the connectors, the sensors is growing just as fast.
And arguably, it's just as critical.
That brings me to the thought I want to leave you with today. If the nervous system fails, the brain is useless. We spend so much time debating which AI model is smarter or which chip is faster. But are we paying enough attention to the physical plumbing that makes it all possible? Because if Thursday's report is any indication, the plumbing is gold-plated right now.
It certainly is. And it's only getting bigger.
That is it for our deep dive on Amphenol and the hidden nervous system of the AI revolution. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.